Evolution is a brutal accountant. It doesn't like waste. It doesn't like inefficiency. And it absolutely hates risks that don't have a guaranteed, measurable payoff. Every single trait your body and mind possess, from the way your heart pumps to the specific way you dream, had to earn its place in the biological blueprint. It had to help your ancestors stay alive long enough to have children. In the ledger of natural selection, if a trait costs too much energy or puts an animal in unnecessary danger without a massive survival benefit, nature deletes it without a second thought. So here is the paradox that defines our species. Why do humans feel the creepies? Think about that feeling of a presence in a dark room. You're walking down a hallway in your own house, a place you know is safe, and suddenly your heart rate spikes. You catch a glimpse of a face in the folds of a hanging coat or a pair of eyes in the grain of a wooden door. Logically, you know it's just a coat. You know it's just wood. But your palms are sweating, and you find yourself sprinting for the light switch like your life depends on it. From an energy standpoint, this reaction is a waste. You're burning calories and triggering a massive shot of adrenaline for a threat that doesn't exist. So why didn't evolution delete this bug? Because in the cold world of survival, your brain isn't interested in being right. It's interested in keeping you alive. In the dark, it has decided that it is infinitely better to be wrong and scared than to be right and dead. Today, we're decoding the predator detection system and the secret evolutionary math that turned us into the most superstitious species on Earth. This isn't just about ghosts. It's about the logic schema that saved our species from extinction. Welcome to Logic Schema. To understand why your brain is so obsessed with seeing ghosts, we have to travel back 50,000 years to a world without light switches or flashlights. Imagine you're sitting by a fading fire on the edge of the African savannah. The sun has disappeared, and with it, your primary survival tool, your vision. While humans have decent daytime specs, we are practically blind compared to the creatures that evolved to own the night. As the fire crackles and dims, the night logic of the world begins to wake up. 20 feet away, in the tall grass, a leopard is watching you. Its eyes are specifically designed to amplify even the faintest starlight, and its ears can track your heartbeat from the shadows. For an ancient human, the darkness wasn't just an absence of light. It was occupied territory. One wrong step or one missed shadow meant the end of your genetic line. Now, add another layer. You hear a twig snap. Was it just the wind? Or was it the last sound you'll ever hear? In this environment, your brain has to make a split-second decision with almost zero visual data. This created an incredible amount of evolutionary pressure to develop a system that could detect a threat before it actually attacked. You weren't just looking for predators. You were looking for the possibility of predators. This is why your brain is still hyper-alert in your bedroom at night. It's still guarding that prehistoric fire. This brings us to the core of the system, the smoke detector principle. Imagine the smoke detector in your kitchen. It is designed by engineers to be incredibly, annoyingly sensitive. It goes off when you burn your toast. It goes off when you boil water. And it goes off when there's a tiny bit of dust in the sensor. It gives you false positives all the time, but you don't turn it off. Why? Because you would rather deal with 100 annoying false alarms than have the alarm fail to go off just once when the house is actually on fire. Your brain uses this exact same math in the dark. This is what scientists call error management theory. Your internal smoke detector is set to the highest possible sensitivity because the cost of the errors is unequal. If you think there's a ghost in the closet and you're wrong, the cost is just a few seconds of fear. But if you think the closet is empty and there's actually a predator inside, the cost is your life. We are the descendants of the most paranoid, jumpy, and superstitious humans in history. Because the ones who weren't jumpy didn't live long enough to become anyone's ancestors. Your fear isn't a weakness. It's a high-performance safety feature. You might think these false positives are just mistakes, but in the brutal reality of prehistory, they were often life-saving. Let's look at how being wrong and scared actually paid off in 3 specific, concrete layers of survival. First, the environmental warning. A tribe decides to move their camp because the shaman believes the river spirit is angry and whispering threats at night. Logically, it's just the shifting sound of the current. But by moving to higher ground out of superstitious fear, they avoid a flash flood that hits 2 days later. The superstition acted as a proactive warning system for environmental changes they couldn't yet scientifically explain. Second, the predator perimeter. A group of gatherers avoids a specific lush patch of fruit because they believe shadow people live there. In reality, that grove is a high traffic zone for leopards who use the dense canopy for ambushes. By being scared of ghosts, they successfully avoided being eaten. Their brain recognized a pattern of danger it couldn't see, so it invented a ghost to keep them away. Third, the social radar. An ancient human feels watched while hunting alone at the edge of their territory. They bolt back to the tribe out of sheer irrational panic. They were wrong about the ghost, but they were right to be alert. A rival tribe was indeed tracking them, looking for an isolated target. Their paranoia prevented an ambush. In every case, the false belief led to a very real survival victory. But why does your brain specifically see faces? Why doesn't your brain see a ghost chair or a ghost toaster? This is because humans are the most social animals on the planet. Our survival depended entirely on our ability to read other humans. We have a dedicated high-speed logic schema for face detection called pareidolia. Think of your brain like a high-tech scanner that is constantly running in the background. In a prehistoric environment, a face was the most important piece of data you could ever find. A face meant a friend, a mate, or, most importantly, a rival from another tribe. Because eyes reflect light and faces have distinct symmetrical patterns, our brains are hardwired to prioritize face logic above everything else. If there is even a 1% chance that those two knots in a wooden fence look like eyes, your brain will report them as eyes just to be safe. We are so specialized for this that we see faces in the clouds, in the front of cars, and even on the moon. To your brain, the cost of seeing a face that isn't there is zero, but the cost of missing a face that is there, the eyes of a predator or an enemy, is infinite. You are a face-detecting machine because faces were the keys to your ancestors' survival. Superstition wasn't just about avoiding leopards. It was a form of social technology. In the ancient world, having a private life was almost impossible. You were always with the tribe. But what happened when you were alone? How did the tribe ensure that people followed the rules when no one was looking? This is where the logic of the unseen becomes a masterstroke of survival. If you believe that spirits or ancestors are monitoring your behavior even in the dead of night, you are more likely to follow the social rules that keep the tribe synchronized. This prevented resource hoarding. It prevented betrayal. Imagine an ancient human finding an extra cache of food while alone. Their logical brain says, "Eat it all now." But their superstitious brain says, "The spirits of the ancestors are watching." By following the superstition, they bring the food back to the tribe, strengthening the group and ensuring their own long-term survival. These ghosts acted as the first ever internal security system for human society. They weren't just monsters in the dark. They were the invisible glue that kept the collective brain of the tribe functioning as one unit. Today, we live in a massive evolutionary mismatch. Your brain doesn't know we've invented deadbolts, LED lights, and high-tech security cameras. When the lights go out in your suburban home, your predator detection system still treats your basement like a lion's den at midnight. But here's the interesting part. We actually seek out this fear. Why do we watch horror movies or go to haunted houses? It's part of our fun schema. By exercising our smoke detector principle in a safe environment, we are training our brains to stay sharp. It's the same logic behind the sports and games ancient humans played. It's threat simulation. We pay money to be frightened because our brains are biologically hardwired to enjoy the massive relief that comes after the alarm goes off, and we realize we're still safe. It's a way of cleaning out the logic schema and proving to our ancient brains that we are still the masters of our environment. When you survive a horror movie, your brain gives you a shot of dopamine that says, "Good job, you're still alive." We aren't just scared of the dark. We are fascinated by it because our survival once depended on it. So, the next time you're in the dark and you feel that sudden, irrational urge to run up the stairs after turning off the light, don't feel embarrassed. You're just listening to a 50,000-year-old survival expert living inside your head. You are the species that sees faces in the dark because for your ancestors, the shadows were never empty. They were the training ground that made us the most successful species on the planet. We are decoding the biological blueprint of humanity, one shadow at a time. If you want to understand more about the hidden systems of your life, like why you can't remember your dreams, or the logic of how ancient humans actually created dogs, make sure to subscribe to Logic Schema. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into the secrets of our past. And remember, if you think you saw something in the corner of your eye, your brain probably wants you to run. Thanks for watching and stay curious.